Hey guys, how's it going? It's Adam. It's Lou TV. It's a special edition. I was actually outside getting set up for a Halloween party with my kids and my neighbors and Josh Payne. He said, "Hey man, what's going on?" I'm setting up for a Halloween party, and I said, why don't we get on here and talk about living the fantasy? He said, I think that's a great idea. So who I have with me right now is Josh Adler. He's the director of Living the Fantasy, which, if you don't know, there's a Kickstarter banner, and it's left or again here I am left. It's left or right. Click it, and there's a trailer in there. It's a sizzler. If you're in the video, like in the filming world, I learned that from Josh. There's a sizzler, and you get to watch it and learn all about what the movie's going to be. It's like a trailer. Like normal common folk like you and I call that a trailer. But you've probably seen it. I did post it in one of the forums in the general section. I am rambling on, and here's what I really want to get to. I want to get to introducing Josh. Josh, say hello.
Hello, everyone. It's called a sizzle reel, not a sizzler. You eat really shitty steak and a salad bar at the Sizzler, but you look at a sizzle reel.
Sizzle reel. God, sizzle reel. Sizzle reel.
Watch this. I have an assistant. Dan, can you get me a Red Bull?
Nice. Awesome. Well,
by the way, the reason I did that is because if you go on our Kickstarter campaign, you'll know we have a special campaign today. If I don't raise $10,000 for Kickstarter, Dan gets fired.
Oh my God, Dan.
Dan gets fired. I'm going to fire his ass. He's no longer going to have a job. He's going to be homeless, and it's all your fault. So go pledge on Kickstarter, please. Save Dan's job. And if he gets saved, tomorrow we're going to put him in another position of treachery. We might have a cat eat him for supper. We might have him fight different children on the street.
Woodland creatures? Small woodland creatures?
No, that's too far. Adam,
that's taking it over the edge. Okay, so wait. So tell me again, how much do we need to raise by the end of the day?
$10,000 by the end of the day.
10,000. I was our really good friends. Honestly, the guys over at Roto Grinders. I was talking to Rathburn yesterday, and he said, "Dude, we just raised $10,000 on after this Roto Grinders podcast," and I was like, "Wow, that's really hard to."
We actually raised about $14,000, but one person actually was freaking awesome. I talked to him for about an hour yesterday. He lives in New York. We're gonna have dinner next week. He's personally put up $10,000.
$10,000.
He's now an exec. Yeah, I'm not. I was joking before about firing Dan. I'm not joking now. He did put up 10,000. His name is he's awesome. His name is Matthew Weiner, and he's a huge. He loves DFS. He's obsessed with it. He's an investment banker. Obviously, does very well. But he really wants to be a full-time DFS player. And now, hey, my goal is to help him out any way I can because he helped me out so much. But,
yeah, really. So before we get into all this, because it is important, it's an important campaign. Guys, listen, I really believe in what this movie is all about. I think it's so cool when Rathburn told me about it, Josh. I was like, oh, that's awesome. And I thought it was even cooler when you wanted to come to Charlotte, and we got some camera time. We got to talk about some different things. But can you let's go back from there, right? Let's go back to the beginning. Like, where did this idea come from? Was it your idea? And just take us back and talk me through how we got to where we are today with Living the Fantasy.
I love it. If anyone knows me, they know I love talking about just the impetus of an idea, how it all came, and it came out of. I swear to God, it came out of need. I needed to make some money over the summer because I was supposed to shoot. I'm a filmmaker. I was supposed to shoot a promo video for someone, and they had to cancel. And my wife said, "What are you going to do?" And I'm like, "I don't know." I swear to God, I'm not kidding. You're the first person I've told that to, by the way.
I love it. Breaking news right here. Oh, I love it. Keep going. Please, continue, please.
I thought, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I'm thinking about this, and I'm like, a friend of mine just made a documentary. It was her second documentary, actually. She's really successful. And I'm like, I'm not going to make money making a documentary. And then I play a lot of fantasy football, and I was on a website called draftstreet.com, the now defunct DraftStreet, and a bunch of people were chatting, and I hate with all due respect, I'm sure the people who chat on LuDawgs are awesome, but I got
Some
really
of them. Yeah, some of them are. Yeah.
yeah. But I got really angry. Like, I hate the idea that over the internet, people anonymously like to tell people that they hope they get cancer. It's like,
Yeah, right.
somebody's like, better, not better. Somebody's, has a head-to-head night in baseball, and they have Mark Teixeira, and Mark Teixeira does really badly, and they write, I hope Mark Teixeira gets fucking cancer. And I'm just like, who are these people? Who would say that? Who would even jokingly say, I hope you get cancer? Like, can you imagine if this person was in an elevator with Mark Teixeira and was like, hey, Teixeira, fucking die of cancer? Like, these are terrible people who say this. So my first thing is, I want to know who these people are. Like, really. I'm like, I want to know, I want to follow this. And then once I started meeting people, I'm like, wait, these people aren't like that. Those aren't the people I'm following. The people I decided to follow are just phenomenally nice people who play. And then the idea sort of sprung out of like, wait, instead of that funny original idea was, I want to show the world of fantasy, but I more important want to show the players who play. Like, every time I tell someone this idea, they say, oh, fantasy football, that's really cool. Like, I get reactions from, oh, that's nice, to, oh my God, that's awesome. And oh my God, that's awesome then gets better when I say, the people I'm following, some of them quit their day jobs. There's a guy that I'm following who puts up 6 figures a week while he's in his dorm room at Notre Dame. Not literally, he lives in an apartment. And they're like, well, what? I mean, I talked to my friend who's a fireman who said, how do I do this? And I'm like, yeah, it's a skill game, and you don't have the skill. I don't have the skill. Though I'm getting better, by the way.
Hey, I want to talk about. I do want to talk about the skill stuff. Yeah, this is. I think just based upon our conversation that we had as you guys were filming, some different.
And by the way, I hope you all saw that Adam is actually the last voice you hear in my trailer. And
I was pissed because I look so fat and out of shape, man. You didn't. I was counting on you guys to like slim me down and make me look like someone that I'm not.
Anytime somebody who is thin tells someone who is fat that they're fat, just tell them to go fuck themselves. So,
great. Well, all right. So I do want to get back to the skill thing because I think it's an important part. I think it's probably going to end up being an important part of the movie. I don't know exactly how this all comes together, right? I don't want to talk about it now, but I do want to get back to because you were kind of getting towards. It's less about it's maybe less about fantasy football and more about the characters and the people and the personalities that you're following. Is that true, or am I just kind of putting your words in your mouth right now?
It's half true. Well, you were about to talk about gambling and skill and all that, so I'll say what happened when I came up with this idea. I remember I went to the library one day and my wife said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to go work." And what I was doing was I was going to go write the treatment. Like about a 25, 30-page prospectus on what I plan to do in this film. And I still have the original. Maybe if we ever get any success, I'll sell the original copy. The title I came up with was Fantasy Studs, which everybody hated, so that's not the title of the film.
Okay.
And my original idea was just what I told you. So I went to my friend Andeep Singh, who I went to Columbia University Film School with, and she has no interest in fantasy football, so I'm like, if she likes this, maybe it'll be good. So I said, here's my idea. I remember we had coffee at like Panera Bread. I said, what do you think? She said, oh, that sounds really interesting. Thinking, yeah, movies take years to get made. Let me know if it happens. I'd love to work on it. Mm-hmm. Who knew that 2 weeks later we'd be pretty much shooting because we had investments that fast. But her big thing was, that sounds interesting, and then her thing was like, wait, is this gambling or is this skill? Because it sounds like gambling. I'm like, but don't get worried with what I'm about to say. But at first I'm like, oh yeah, this is totally gambling. Of course it's gambling. Like, I play $100 a week on Draft Street and I lose it. How is that not gambling? Yeah. And she thought the same thing. We're going to investigate this. Well, it's going to be a side story. It's no longer that big of a side story, honestly, because having talked to you and many people, I don't believe it's gambling anymore. I don't believe it's gambling any more than I believe the stock market's gambling or professional poker players are gambling. I don't believe playing professional poker is nearly the same thing as going to a blackjack table putting $50 down and saying hit me on a 16 against a 17.
That's right.
Yeah. And I found that, and when we talk to the people at DraftKings, even they're like, hey, are you going to call this gambling? I'm like, no, we're going to ask the question. All we're doing is asking the question, is this gambling? And every answer we found, except for one really funny comedian who had a whole bit about it being gambling, but everything has convinced me and my producer that it's not. So, but we do talk about that in the film, just if people are curious. But really, it's about, and trust me, if I thought it was gambling, I would have told her, And again, though I've said, as a filmmaker, it's not my job to say what it is or what it isn't. It's to let the characters speak for themselves. Mm-hmm. And characters such as you, people, have spoken. You've spoken for yourself and said, "Hey, this is what it is, man." And you were very eloquent in saying it, by the way. And I was probably I was toughest on you. I think I saw you sweat a little bit in the interview.
I was, and I needed to sweat a little bit because I was such a fat ass. I was like, I needed to sweat. So I'm glad you asked the tough questions. And, you're talking about some of the characters. Tell us a little bit about, in the sizzle reel, and see, I got it right this time. So in the sizzle reel, do we see all of the characters that are going to be in the movie when it comes out in, 2015?
Yeah. Well, in the sizzle reel, you see 7 people that are the characters we're following. 5 of them we're following in a year-long tournament called the FFWC, the Fantasy Football World Championship. And the draft was in Vegas. These are people that mainly also play daily. And then 2 characters, Corey Albertson. When we asked him if he would want to be followed in the film, he was really interested. Such a nice guy to talk to. But he was like, listen, I don't really want to do the yearly, not because he feels he's too good for it or anything else. It was just he was starting his first week at Notre Dame that week, and it's like, I can't really leave for Vegas. So, we're like, look, Corey has become a really big name in this industry. We're like, no, we really want you. We'll follow a side story of you just doing daily, and we'll see how you're doing each week. Who would have known that halfway through the season, Corey took down $1 million tournament? I don't think normally I'd be like, ooh, I'm giving away a spoiler, but I have a feeling everybody who's listening to this.
Yeah, anybody who's watching this on LuDawgs, I'm sure is aware of that.
Yeah. But
I think I was just going to say, it's really neat that as you're, this is happening right now.
Yeah.
And these all of these cool little twists and turns in this plot that I'm sure you didn't want to box into a single thing and just let it happen, are actually happening. It's so cool that someone's going to capture it and put it in front of a broad audience to say, look at this, look at what's happening.
Yeah.
What are some of the other surprises that have happened? I don't know. I mean,
well, the big surprise that I think the people on your site are especially going to like, based on what you do, is that I never intended for this to be a movie about daily fantasy sports. I always intended that to be a side story because I thought it wasn't big enough. So the big surprise actually happened the day after I met you in Charlotte. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you remember this, but it was this summer. You and I met. We met in my hotel room. I roofied your drink, and then you woke up, and then we talked about the movie.
Yes, I do remember that.
No,
I remember half of that.
No, but we actually interviewed you. When you see you in the film, that's actually my hotel room. There's a little suite there, which I'm staying at, by the way, next week again too. So we're gonna have to have dinner or drink.
Yes, we will.
No roofie this time.
Okay, thank you.
But so the next day, I was filming with Thad Houston, Brad Thad, who's one of our characters, who's this brilliant, amazing doctor with 5 kids and this beautiful wife living there. So we're shooting with him, getting his 5 kids ready for school, all this craziness. He's going back into his office. He's getting ready to work an overnight shift that night as a radiologist at the hospital. I start getting text messages from people like Michael Rathburn, from Nando DeFino, who's been a big help with Fantasy Sports Network, saying things like, holy shit, do you see what's happening? Do you see what's happening? Well, I can't believe you're making a film when all this is happening. I'm like, I don't know what they're saying. So I quickly called Nando, what's going on? He's like, DraftKings just bought Draft Street. And at this point, we were talking with DraftKings about, following DraftKings. Hadn't come to anything yet. And I'm like, what? I thought Draft Street was that. How did that happen? I don't know a lot about this business. You probably.
Sure. It was like everyone else's reaction. I think it was like, wow.
I was
That is
like,
a really big. That
I was
is
like,
like front
DraftKings
page news
just,
in daily fantasy sports. Obviously, yeah, right.
yeah, I was like, DraftKings just moved that up. So I had my camera at the time. This is what's cool about making a documentary. So like, I'm literally on the phone. I have my camera. My director of photography is with her other camera. She's with the family. I go back in to see Thad. I'm like, Thad, let me tell you what just happened. I tell him while on camera, so I'm shooting. He goes
So
to
you got his reaction live then.
got his reaction live, and then I got him going onto his computer and going on draftstreet.com just to see a message that we no longer exist. Then he goes on DraftKings, and on DraftKings, which I can't say enough great things about DraftKings because I just think they're innovative and awesome, and quite frankly, they're like from a personal standpoint, they were innovative and awesome enough that when they reached out to us and said, "How can we be involved with this film?" and I told them, they didn't laugh in my face. They weren't like, "Oh, some filmmaker, who cares?" They were like, "This sounds great. Like, you should. We'd love to, talk to you." And I was like, "Listen, I'm not doing a promo video for you. I'm not just going to make you look good. Like, you're just going to be where my players play." And they're like, "Yeah, we wouldn't want you to do that." What I love about them is they love movies, and we have all these great conversations about film, and they're just awesome. So we go on DraftKings website, and on their banner was like 4 $1 million prizes this year. And that's the first we heard, that there's actually going to be 4 $1 million prizes plus the King of the Beach thing in Atlantis. And so I had Thad's reaction. So that was the biggest surprise. And then I remember calling my producer, Andeep, saying, like, I'm always having to explain fantasy to her.
Sure. Yeah, right.
Well, what's so great about her, she's a brilliant producer. And the reason I wanted her involved opposed to somebody else who knows about fantasy is she's constantly thinking about the story, not just about the details of the minutiae about fantasy. I believe that anyone who watches this interview and is on your site is going to watch my movie. Like, of course, you should want to watch my movie. I want people like my wife or like Andeep, my producer, to watch my movie, people who would never watch my movie. So I call her, I said, "This is what happened." And she's like, "What does this mean?" I'm like, "I think it means that this film is much more about what's going on in the daily sites than in the yearly. I think the yearly is still the backbone of our story. It's taking us from the beginning to middle to end. But what just happened with DraftKings, that's what it's about. There's $1 million prizes now. And we didn't even know then, and then it changed where DraftKings decided to do $1 million prize every week, opposed to just 4. And then it changed even more when DraftKings, I got to call the DraftKings bought Star Street. Yeah. Like, it's insane what's going on. And then all
you are in, like, this movie is being filmed in the most, like volatile point in daily fantasy sports. Like, it's busting through the chasm into the mainstream. Absolutely. And you guys are capturing it. It's such a beautiful moment. It's great. So, man, it's just really serendipitous. Like, you're just so lucky and cool that you're doing this. What are, like, some of the other big things? Did you guys take a trip to Costa Rica or something like that? Were you like?
No, Costa Rica. No, but what happened was Corey Albertson. I was in Indiana 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago. Shooting with Kimra, one of our subjects, who's just amazing. She's the one non-daily player that we have, but she's about to, make her transition. Because,
of course, clearly and naturally, she'll make the transition.
Well, no, but I'll tell you why. But so we're in Indiana shooting with her and her partner and her kids and all that, and Kimra's just lovely and amazing and wonderful. And I shoot with her all day, and we go to Buffalo Wild Wings where we're shooting with them and watching the games. And of course, it's so hard to be shooting this while I'm like checking my phone constantly to see how my teams are doing on DraftKings and how many really teams are doing on Yahoo, which I'm in a couple with some friends for years. So I'm like doing that while filming. I go back to my hotel room and I check like who's in the lead for the Millionaire Maker on DraftKings and for the King of the Beach, because obviously we're going to be at the Bahamas in the Atlantis. Is that your wife?
Yeah, they want to see you on TV. Come here.
Hey!
Hey, yeah. They want to see you. You got to see.
Hi.
How are you?
They can't hear you.
I love your pretty pink bow.
He likes your bow.
Oh, she can't hear me.
Yeah, she can't hear. She has no idea. Sorry, I totally interrupted what you were saying. She's dancing behind me. I had to get her on camera.
It's adorable.
Continue, please. I'm
Your,
sorry.
your daughter is beautiful, Adam.
That is not my daughter. That is my wife.
Oh my God, she looks way too hot for you.
Oh, God, I know. I say that every day. As I continue drinking more beer.
I,
Anyway, please.
this is. Oh wait, that's just my messages. This is. I'm always such a proud father. This is my wife and son, and she's way too hot for me. So.
Yeah, well, we're living the dream, dude. We are living the
Living
fantasy.
the fantasy. I love it.
Yeah, we are living the fantasy. So please continue with your story. I cut you off. Let's backtrack.
No problem. So I look to see who's up for the Bahamas, up for Atlantis, and I'm like, holy shit, Tommy G and Corey Albertson are literally 1 and 2 right now. Like literally.
And guys, you know, both of these guys are in this movie, right? So imagine Josh, like he's in Indiana, and he learns about this. Now what? Take me there.
I call Ann Deep, my producer, who's in New Jersey, or she's in Pennsylvania actually, but where I'm at right now, our office is in New Jersey. If anyone knows the tri-state area, it's really funny. I live in New York. Our office is in New Jersey. My producer lives in Pennsylvania. So we're all always just meeting up here in Jersey. So I call back, and I'm like, this is what's going on. She's like, give me your password to DraftKings. I do. Hope she's not going to steal from me. And she looked, and I'm like, wait, holy shit! In the Millionaire Maker, Corey Albertson is like 6 behind, but the 5 in first through 5th place are done, and Corey's got Le'Veon Bell the next day.
He's holding a bullet. He's got a bullet left.
Now Tommy G surpasses Corey in the King of the Beach, but there's another guy about 7 or 8 behind Tommy who has who? Who do you think?
I don't know.
Well, I said Corey's got Le'Veon Bell in order to win the Millionaire Maker.
I told you don't ask me player questions, man. I told you don't ask me that. Who? Le'Veon Bell, and then I don't know.
So anyway, so I'll tell you. I'm not going to ask you questions. I just thought you were following my story.
I'm just kidding.
Corey needs 18 points from Le'Veon Bell in order to win $1 million. Tommy G needs Le'Veon Bell to not score 19 points in order to make Bahamas. This is the drama. Incredible.
And you're capturing. Like, do you guys feel like you captured it? Like you captured the essence of.
So I get Tommy G on Skype at that very moment and record it. So I have him recording. I have him seeing the moment he gets in first place for the Bahamas, freaking out. We call Corey. He's a little like, what's going on? We realize we need to get a camera crew to Chile. Corey Albertson is in Santiago, Chile, with his class at Notre Dame for 3 months. So we called DraftKings and told them what's going on. They're like, oh man, it would be awesome if you get a camera. We're like, we are getting a camera. They have no idea how, and we'll leave our secrets. But we got someone we know with a camera crew in Chile. The footage looks amazing. We actually have a camera with Corey that looks beautiful. I watch it all the time now. I can't wait for you guys to see it. It's amazing. So we have the moment that he wins the $1 million. Literally, the moment he wins $1 million. Corey, who never shows emotion, is so beautifully emoting with his girlfriend. Like, you watch him winning $1 million. It's awesome. And then, of course, we're with Tommy G in New Jersey with another camera crew watching him not win. But Tommy will win. He's a smart guy.
Yeah, there's no question. He will probably have his another shot at that. And guys, if you want to see those reactions, it's really important, right? As a part of like a daily fantasy, just holistic community, let's support this thing, right? I got Josh here with me, director of. If you're just kind of getting in, I got Josh Adler here with me. He's the director of Living the Fantasy. If you're watching this on LuTV, up to the left, again, I can't. This is always backwards for me. There's a banner, and it links you directly to the Kickstarter. We need to raise some funds to make this thing happen, to bring it to fruition. Get these guys what they need. Get them, I don't know what goes into a film, but I know it costs money. And if you're doing something independently, it's probably a tough nut to crack. So guys, if you got $20, throw in $20. If you got $100, throw in $100. Let's see what we can do to make this happen. It's going to be another
Yeah,
feather in the cap of the daily fantasy sports industry. I'm telling you,
I
help
really
out with
appreciate
it.
it.
Yeah.
You know, it's a good film, and please check out the trailer. I think you'll see that we're not, you know, a couple of, you know, independent filmmakers who have no idea what they're doing. Look, there's let's be honest, there's tens of thousands of films being made this second right now, and everybody thinks they're going to do something with it. And Deep and I both went to one of the top film schools in the world. She's been a producer for 12 years. She's quite brilliant. Um, yeah, it's a good film. I know what I'm doing. My producer, sorry, I got a text while I was saying, and I'm a guy, so I can't do two things at once.
I got the same problem. Problem.
But no, you know, it looks really good, and it's something that I've never been this proud of a piece of art that I've made in my life, and I just love it.
Very cool.
I love it.
It's very cool. Is there anything else you want to say about the flick? I mean, we're thrilled to have you on, and I don't want you to give everything away, right?
I just got a text saying that somebody wants to invest in the movie, so that's very nice.
That's not bad news. Look, we're documenting all of this, man. Like, all of these cool things are happening, and we're just catching them.
You know, the things to say about the movie is that, you know, this is why I think it'll be good, is because something that will maybe shock you a bit. I am a filmmaker first, and then a daily fantasy and a yearly fantasy player. I love fantasy sports. I actually love fantasy baseball more than I love fantasy football, quite frankly. But to tell a story, I realize it's much more interesting to show, you know, that one game a week kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I love fantasy football. I'm personally getting better at it. But the reason I think this film will succeed is because I'm a filmmaker, and I knew how to tell a story. And the biggest failure this film would be is if the only people who liked it were people who are quote unquote living the fantasy.
Yeah, right.
You know, oh, that was cheesy. But
no, I get it though. But your point, like, it hits home. You know, we need to. So, talk to me a little bit about how, like, if we are contributing and like donating, helping with the Kickstarter, how does that kind of enable or like help your team reach kind of the masses? Right?
We have a $138,000 a goal, and frankly, if we don't reach that goal, by the way, we get nothing. So people have said that's a really lofty goal, and we're like, it has to be. We need that money to make it. We had investors getting us to this point, and we're so grateful to them. They were phenomenal. But in order to finish the film, we've always known we would need to do a Kickstarter campaign. So we're not through shooting it. It's going to get us through the end, but the money, by the way, I also want to make clear the money doesn't go into my pocket or to my producer's pocket.
I don't think anyone. No one really thought that. I don't.
No, I think people do. I think people do. I'm not. You know, I think there are people in the world who say, "Oh, this is just so they could get paid." I'm like, no, not at all. We're hoping money off the back end. You know, if not, you know, we both are making money elsewhere doing things, and you know, our families hate us right now because they never see us.
Right.
But the money goes, if you think the trailer looks great, and I think you will, I think you'll say, oh my God. Yeah, I think people are, when we shot with people, they're like, oh, they don't have a lot of big equipment. I wonder what this is. I think then they saw it and said, oh wait, this looks like a movie you would see in a movie theater.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's so cool.
You didn't think
the opening shot with the music. It's like, it's got the football, the trophy. You know, I'm like, right away, I was like, unlocked.
But it doesn't look like it was just shot on an iPhone. These cameras are very expensive. The editor we hired is a world-class editor who has a movie, you know, has been, you know, had a lot of great movies coming out. Our director of photography, Sarah, again, when we interview director of photography, so I think the person who's in charge of the actual photography of it and holding the camera, I chose her. She knows nothing about fantasy football. There's a bunch of guys I interviewed who I thought were phenomenal, and I love them. I'm like, oh, I could totally talk fantasy football with them. I wanted people who were always concentrating on the story. But these people cost money to do the job, and they're worth it. We hired a composer, so it has an original composition, so we're not just using cheesy,
Very cool.
And also in order to edit it, in order to what's called sweeten it, to color correct it, these are all things. You think, often people say, wait, back in the day when I used to teach film school, they'd say, well, Clerks was shot for $28,000. I'm like, yeah, but what they don't tell you is Clerks was shot for $28,000 and it looked like shit. And then
Yeah.
Harvey Weinstein spent millions of dollars
Getting
to
it to that point.
make it look good. We do need the 138,000. We have a pie chart on our Kickstarter campaign that says where the money goes to. It's getting us to finish the film at a bare minimum of what it costs to finish the film.
So what are the different ways? I was out there, and that was kind of like disheartening. Like, you know, I'm a daily fantasy guy. I handle everything through PayPal because, you know, it's like the payment gateway that we use for everything. But I noticed that wasn't like a payment option.
Thank you for asking that question, actually. I don't know if we didn't plan that, but it's actually the...
Yeah, I saw that, like, every major credit card, right? You can pay through Amazon, I think, is like an option, but...
As a PayPal user myself, I feel the same way. Like, I noticed that. I'm like, oh, the only way you can pay is through Amazon. You can use any credit card you want. And I actually got some messages on the Rotor Grinders forum saying, hey, man, like, I'd love to give money, but it only accepts Amazon. Look, let's be honest. They're like, you shouldn't have done that. Hey, it wasn't me. I don't run Kickstarter.
You're kind of you're at the mercy of Kickstarter. And
Kickstarter clearly has an exclusive deal with Amazon. Look, I'm the first to say, I mean, I don't know. People are, I talked to my producer about this. If you want, I pray you want to help out with this movie. It would mean the world to us. There's great prizes. Hey, if it's big money, you could literally be a producer of this movie. You get the producer credit, and you could get laid in any bar you go to because you're like, hey man, I'm producing a movie. Yeah, everybody wants to be a producer.
It reminds me of Vince Vaughn in Swingers when he was like,
Well, that's it. I mean, they're going the Rain Man suite. They're they're living life as a producer. I was thinking about that today, by the way. I was thinking about the Rain Man suite because they're in the Bahamas. But so as I said, if you want to email us, you could send us PayPal, and then we'll pay.
That is such good news. That's what I was going to ask. Like, is there any way that you can make it easy on us? Maybe by giving us like a PayPal address, Living the Fantasy at.
Yeah, well, you can. I'll give it to you. Just email me. I believe it's Josh at LPA Video, which is my production company.
Okay.
LPAvideo.com. You could pay PayPal, and then we'll just basically take that money and put it from our account into the Amazon.
There you go.
Still on there. I wish we didn't have to do it because then we have to kick back the Kickstarter. But in order to reach our goal, we do need to do it that way. I want you to know that obviously your money is going towards this, and we're not just. I want everything to be on the level in that way.
Okay, so it's Josh at lpavideo.com is your email address.
Is our email address? You can email me there. Just find out how to do PayPal, or that should work very easily.
Okay, excellent. All right, well, we're 40 minutes in. I've got Josh here with me again, director of Living the Fantasy. It's a documentary, and it's a great idea. He's got so many great people that he's following. The story continues to evolve, I think, and I don't even think he knows where it's going. He's got a compass in his hand. He knows we're going in a general direction. But you guys know how daily fantasy sports are. It's something new every single day, and his team's just trying to be agile enough to capture it all for everyone. And it's not just daily fantasy either. So just for the season-long guys out there, he said, this is the backbone of it, right? There's just so many different cool things going on in fantasy sports right now. He's trying to bring it all together and tell a story, and I have every bit of confidence after working with him in Charlotte that, look, this guy's a true professional. He's got a great team with him. And it's something you're going to want to get behind because when it comes out, you can say, dude, I helped to make this thing happen. So go make it happen. Don't give up.
There's prizes. When you pledge, look, the first thing I'll say is, hey, the prizes aren't worth the money because obviously you're pledging it, but we are giving some really cool things away. So, movie poster, the DVDs, Blu-rays, T-shirts, some fun things like a Living the Fantasy whoopee cushion.
Awesome.
I like so our merchandise purses. These are things that we can give you, and then the higher you get up, the bigger the prizes are. A football jersey, a party here in New York for the premiere, things like that. Like, hell, and if you give $10,000, also we will personally pay for your Living the Fantasy tattoo.
Tattoo? Do you want a tattoo? Yes, you do. Is the answer. You want a tattoo, and if you want the most badass tattoo in the world, it only costs $10,000. Josh can take it.
Only $10,000 for a badass Living the Fantasy. But you also have surprises that lead up to that tattoo.
I love it. Josh, look, we're going to look to have you back on again and catch up with you and see how things are going. Maybe towards Christmas. I'm sure you guys are going to continue shooting through at least that far.
We're going to be getting it ready for submission to the Tribeca Film Festival right then, so we're going to be crazy. You call me anytime, and my hair will be half bald by that time.
I'm sure. Yeah. Oh, we need to just track you. Like, we'll take snapshots of you and how you look and change over time.
I just got, as long for my wife's sake and my sake, I just can't get fatter. I just need to start eating healthy. Well,
there's no eating healthy when you're on the road. I mean, you gotta go with what you can get. And when you're trying to hold the funds together to make such a cool movie happen, I'm sure it's tough to eat organic food and be amazing about your diet. So
I got it.
Yeah. Well, Josh, thank you for coming on. And I know that it was last minute, so thanks for being able to get on and join us. Guys, if you have any questions at all, it's Josh at LTA Video, right?
LPA.
LP, Paul.
It's actually my son's initials, Lucas Parker Adler.
Lucas Parker Adler, LPA Video. Shoot him an email. He will answer.
And also, by the way, you can shoot me an email at josh@livingthefantasy.com.
That's easier. Josh,
LPA Video was the PayPal account. That's why.
Okay, cool. All right, so yeah, well, if you want to learn more about how to help through PayPal, shoot them an email. Either way, and get involved. I'm going to get involved as soon as we get off this. Josh, I'm going to shoot you a PayPal because I want to have a part in it. I think it's going to be such a cool movie. Thanks. And I mean, just from what I've seen so far, and I know that the story has developed a lot since you were even here in Charlotte. I just can't wait for it, man. It's such a cool thing. And
I'm going to be in Charlotte next weekend, so I'll buy you.
Now I'll buy you a healthy dinner, and we'll make your wife happy when you come. We'll get a good beer. Definitely let me know. Guys, if you have any questions, again, shoot me a note, and use the Kickstarter. It's up there.
Please. Thanks, you guys.
Yeah, you got it. Josh, thanks for joining us, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
Take care.